We have a great speaker today who we've had many times before. Is very colorfully dressed, and Reverend Ray Anderson. And he is going to be giving a talk called A New H.O.P.E, Hope. So I wonder what that's going to be about. I'm looking forward to it.
Let's pause for a second because I want us to take that in for a moment, that the lyrics expressed the need to not be worried about external conditions. Why? Because as she said, being a lucky so-and-so. But let's pause for a second and say, so what's a so-and-so? Spirit outpicturing spirit only. And if that's spirit outpicturing spirit only, then not only are we not lucky, we're a blessed so-and-so. Namaste and greetings, Unity of DC. Happy New Year. Hey, what's up? So, oh, wait a minute. Is it past the time that we say Happy New Year? I mean, this is the first time I'm seeing you. So not only Happy New Year, but happy blessed, happy joyful, happy healing, happy evolutionary, and happy loving New Year. It is an honor and a privilege to be with you once again, especially since today we're going to discuss something that has been sort of floating around in the ethers of my consciousness and my awareness, specifically since last year when I spoke at an LGBTQ rally for hope in Dover, Wilmington last year. And I was asked to speak about this because so many people were feeling hopelessness, which we're going to talk a little bit about. So, two things. When I spoke with you last year, one of the things we talked about was this idea of trans-spiritual living and New Thought 4.0, and we're going to sort of touch on that because the idea is, how do we continue to evolve and grow without remaining stuck? And to that point, that's why today we're talking about, an upgraded kind of hope. Specifically, don't tell anybody, but I borrowed the title A New Hope. This is why I made it an acronym, but I borrowed it from one of my favorite movies. And I don't know if you're a Star Wars kind of fan, but Star Wars Episode 4, the title is A New Hope. Don't tell George Lucas. Shh. Okay, so we're going to talk about A New Hope, but specifically, we're talking about hope in a different kind of way, right? We're going to talk about it in an expanded way. But in order for us to do that, we have to be mindful that normally, typically, when we talk about hope, many people talk about it in a kind of airy-fairy, kind of wispy way where hope eludes us, okay? We seem to be much more grounded in the idea of hopelessness, anxiety, and fear because it doesn't envelop many of us. We are submerged beneath the weight of it. So for many of us, those are more, tangible, because we can readily identify this feeling, this heavy weighted, this sense of impending dread, this overwhelm of all of that hopelessness, anxiety, fear, and more. But when we get to the idea of hope, wait a minute, what does that feel like? Now, some common definitions of how, according to Merriam-Webster and other folks who, according to them, hope as a noun is a feeling of expectation. And if we recall from today's reading from the Daily Word, there's this idea of looking forward to the accomplishment and manifestation of our goals. So a feeling of expectation, I expect, and a feeling of desire for a certain thing to happen. A desire that is accompanied with this belief in the fulfillment of it. Now breathe that in. As a verb, hope is to want something to happen. You want whatever this is to in fact be the case. Synonyms: aspiration, desire, wish. I'm not into that word. If we used it more effectively, but anyhow, synonyms: wish, plan, and dream. Okay, So if I ask you, do you have an aspiration? Do you have a dream? Do you have whatever a desire? Do you have that? If you do, then you have hope. Now, today we're going to talk about how do we access it the way the acronym is inviting us, H-O-P-E. Now, a little bit of added clarity if we think of or look into the Bible, hope is described as a confident, take that word in, a confident expectation of receiving what God has promised. Now, in the Bible, they're talking about an anthropomorphic God. Yes, most definitely. But for us, metaphysicians, we know that we're going to get to that. We know that which God is right where we are. So, what is the promise? It is a choice to trust in this promise of the divine and believe that it will be and is fulfilled. Breathe that in. Now, at the rally that I mentioned that I spoke at, we talked about, or a lot of people talked about this idea of, hope and holding on to hope and all of these things. And it was like, yeah, I need it to be something tangible. I need it to be something relevant rather than I'm looking for hope in all the wrong places. It's not there. Siri, where is hope? I cannot find her. Ah! I need it to be something where we can sit in this calm, still space of right here, right now, and there it is. Because it is where we are, and okay, we're going to get there, but it's right here. I need it to be that. So I offered them a kind of upgraded idea via the acronym, which we're going to get to in a moment. But before we go there, I ask you to indulge me in a moment where I want us to think about the 5 principles in a slightly different way. And be ready, because I am pushing the buttons here. I am pushing the envelope. Okay, so we say, human beings have a spark of the divine within them, the Christ spirit within. Yes, but what if we didn't take it as simply a spark, but it is the full blaze of all that God is, because all that is God. So it's not just a spark. I got the concept, yes, but what would happen if we said, you know what? I am not just a spark of the divine. I am all of it in expression as me. I think I've shared with you many years ago my analogy of the cake. If you take a slice of cake out of the cake and you look at the slice, is that slice the entirety of the cake? No. But how much of that slice is entirely cake? All of it. So not just a spark, but the full blaze of the full illuminated power that is. And not just within, because if I ask you, if I said, Chick, are you within you or are you all of you? If I ask Jan, are you within you or are you all of you? Right? If I say, Jan, do me a favor, hold up your hand. I don't know if y'all can see that, but yes. So why would Jan hold up her hand if the hand wasn't part of identify? So it's all of. So what if the Christ spirit isn't simply within, but it is the skin that covers the muscles and the tendons and the sinew and the bones and the cells, and it's all that you are from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. It says, human beings, we create by our experiences through the activity of our thinking, not just our thinking. Like, let's put all 4 mental equivalents to use: our thinking, our speaking, our emotions and feelings, and our actions, which is what principle number 5 says. We must also live this truth. We must live it and show it through how we live, move, and have our beingness in the world. Now, I promise you, I'm going to get to the acronym, but I want to throw some other stuff out there just to get the juices marinating, okay? Joel Goldsmith says God expresses God, and that expression appears as you. God expresses God, and that expression appears as you. Ernest Holmes says, for the highest God and the innermost God is one God and not two. Okay? Meister Eckhart said, between me and God, there is no between. Okay? Pythagoras said, know thyself, and then thou shalt know the universe and God. Okay? Charles Fillmore invites us, right here and now, the great work of character building is to be done. And whoever neglects present opportunities, looking forward to a future heaven for better conditions, better opportunities, is pulling right away from the kingdom of heaven within themselves. So rather than looking forward to, it's right here where we are. Myrtle Fillmore says, because God is infinite justice, you can always change the cause and set into operation and change the results. We can always. Now, why is that? Back to our acronym. H.O.P.E. Hope is how our power expresses. Hope is how our power expresses. And when we think of a collective, new thought, how our people express. This is Black History Month. You may be familiar with Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass said, I prayed for 20 years for freedom, but received no answer until I prayed with my legs. Now, what is that saying? How our power expresses in action. Hope is what stirred Nelson Mandela, inspiring him as he sat in a jail cell on Robben Island until freedom and the presidency of South Africa were his. Hope is what moved Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Representative John Lewis. Hope is what birthed the suffragists. Hope is what birthed the gay liberation movement, the civil rights movement, the abolitionists. Hope is what stirred ACT UP, because hope is what the empowered and authentic divinity moves and shows up as our thinking, our speaking, our emotions and feelings, and our actions. So bring to mind any individual whose life is a divine demonstration of spirit in action, because they are a lucky so-and-so. They are a blessed so-and-so. Bring to mind, it could be anybody. Emma Curtis Hopkins, anybody. The Dalai Lama, anybody. Recently, Bishop Buddy came to the consciousness of many people. We didn't know who she was before that magnificent and blessed so-and-so stood there and didn't speak truth to power, spoke truth powerfully, because that which is the Christ showed up and showed out. Bring to mind anyone, James Baldwin. Bring to mind anyone, Bayard Rustin, anyone, Christine Jorgensen. Bring to mind anyone. And then bring to mind you. Bring you to your mind. Now, you may be saying, but Reverend Ray, clearly you're not putting me on the level of a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., as a Nelson Mandela, a Harvey Milk, an Audre Lorde. Yes, I am. Why? Because that which God is all there is. And it is incarnating and expressing itself in, through, and as you right now. So rather than looking at others and putting them on the pedestal of, no more pedestals. Look at everyone as a divine demonstration of the one. Some people know it, some unfortunately do not. This is why we see a lot of the things that are happening, wars and rumors of wars, emotional wars and wars within families and wars within states and wars within politics. That's why, because they don't know who and what they are. But the more we know who and what we are, in the same way that the suffragists knew. They didn't say, well, maybe we as women, maybe we demand our rights. The gay liberation movement, we demand our rights. because they knew they were worthy and they deserve. And we know that this worthiness and deserving comes from knowing who and what we are. We are divine demonstrations of love itself. This is why I don't say, God is not omnipotent, but God is omnipotence itself. And that omnipotence shows up as your power right now. How our power express. How does your power express? Does it express as a hug that you give to someone when they are in need? Does it show up as I'm feeling parched, so you drink some water to nourish your system and lubricate your body? Does it show up as a kiss on the forehead, a pet to your dog or your cat? It is an expression of love. How does your power show up? Now, I wasn't with you last week, but I heard that the amazing John shared with y'all the power of haiku. That too is power, the power of poetry and what poetry does to move us and inspire us. It touches a place within our being that mere words alone don't reach. But the moment you put those words, just like someone can say, sometimes when you are, right, you get like the words by themselves, but the moment you go, sometimes in our lives, oh, you put music to it and it reaches a different space. The moment you put this word with this word and this syllable with this syllable and you speak it, it hits differently. So hope, your power is the poetry that we write, that we speak. Hope is the songs that we sing, the tears that we shed, the way we use our dollars to speak up for us. Hope, like Elphaba in Wicked, hope is how we show up unlimited and how we defy gravity. That is hope. Hope is, as she said, whatever the wizard is for each of us, no wizard that there is or was is ever going to. Whatever the wizard is for you, for us individually, for us collectively, remember, there is no wizard strong enough to douse the fires of hope, because hope is not simply something we feel. Hope is what we are from the soles of our feet to the tops of our heads. Hope is from the surface of our skin to the muscles, the tendons, the bones, the molecular structure, and the quantum particles and waves. Hope is truly how the divine is living this thing. So be mindful. Prayer is not simply something we do. Amen is not simply something we say at the end of a prayer. The way you live your life is your amen. And your life, all of it, the way you wake in the morning, prayer. The way you make coffee or tea, prayer. The way you walk the dogs, feed the cat, prayer. All of it. The way you adjust when the schedule isn't going the way that you initially thought it was going to go because there's miscommunication, prayer. All of it, because it demonstrates our ability to change, evolve, adapt, and not simply survive, but thrive. Breathe. And let's enter into that space, simply receiving, and then we will return for our meditation. Breathe. Breathe. And we enter into that space of the infinite, where we recognize that this breath anchors us to the right here and right now. Because as I always say, we cannot rebreathe yesterday's breath. We cannot pre-breathe tomorrow's breath. We cannot save a breath for a rainy day. We can only breathe right here and right now, in this present moment. In this present moment, we understand that our thoughts are prayers. And we are always praying. Our words are prayers, and we are always praying. Our hugs are prayers, and we are always praying. Our emails and text messages of love and support, simply checking in, are prayers, and we are always praying. How we envelop those who are experiencing great loss, whether the fires out west, the two recent crashes, DC and Philadelphia, it doesn't matter where in the world, that which God is envelops it all, and how we bring people and situations and experiences to our mind. As is often said, there is only one mind, and that mind is God, and that mind is your mind right now. So the moment we bring anyone and anything to our mind, it is also in that which is the divine mind, the one mind. And in the one mind, it exists as answered prayer. Because in the mind that is God, there are no missing pieces. There is no good enough. There is simply infinite goodness. So we breathe into this awareness, simply letting this divine inhalation and this divine exhalation, this holy ruach, the breath that is God, breathing itself as each one of us. And we enter into that space of infinite silence, breathing and knowing. And we breathe with the awareness that says, the moment we think, may these people be comforted, the activity of the divine is already answering that prayer. The moment we think, may there be justice and equity, that which is the divine source is already moving, and the prayer is already answered. The moment we think it, which is why we are invited to elevate our thinking. Yes, we can recognize the hopelessness, be present to it, the anxiety, be present to it, but also knowing that there is that which is more powerful than it, more true than it, without the need to deny it or bypass it. But it is saying, this is the anxiety that I feel, and this is why I feel it. This is the fear that I feel and why I feel it. This is the hopelessness that I feel and why I feel it. And knowing that I am that which is, the infinite power and presence of the all that is, I bring that awareness to the hopelessness, to the fear, the dread, the anxiety. I bring it together in the same way that we may have been taught to bring our hands together for prayer or bring our hands together for namaste. I bring the what is with the absolute truth of my being. I bring it together. And in the bringing it together, the healing occurs. The yin, the yang, together, harmony and balance and peace. So it is in this space right now, this meditative awareness that we carry with us with every breath. With any breath, we pause and recognize, not just as when we understand the story of Moses, when he climbs the mountain and is told, I am that I am, as the name, but as I was once taught by a rabbi in Pittsburgh, a more accurate translation is, I am that which is ever becoming more of itself. And so we breathe and know that each of us is the infinite I am ever becoming more of itself, right where we are, as we are. And in that is our power. And in that is the hope of how our power expresses and how we heal the world and how we evolve in love. And so it is. Blessings.